Chapter 1. The Herd Thins. The desert highway stretched endless under the full moon, silent except for the occasional groan of a passing truck. And there, like a flame refusing to die in the night, stood Marty's roadside diner. Inside, warmth glowed, the hiss of the fryer, the scent of butter and bacon, the clink of forks on plates. Leela worked the floor with her easy smile, professional, moving with practiced grace under harsh fluorescence. Tonight's crowd was the usual. Chuck the trucker, scarfing down a mountain of pancakes. Millie the night nurse, savoring her apple pie. Two college kids laughing over chocolate shakes. Each had their rhythm, their small quirks, little stories playing out across sticky tables and chrome chairs. Leela moved among them, taking orders, refilling coffee, cracking light jokes. "Watch it, Chuck. You'll float away on those pancakes," she teased. Chuck grunted, not looking up, but a smile tugged at his mouth. The college boys were bantering loudly. "Bro, seriously, did you see that game?" one asked, voice bouncing across the diner. "No way the ref actually called that," the other laughed, spilling a bit of chocolate shake. Leela crouched to wipe it, shaking her head. "You guys really need a coaster or a towel, or maybe both," she said, keeping the tone professional, but amused. Their laughter filled the diner, but she noticed the subtle glances they kept shooting toward the door, sensing something unseen. Millie excused herself, muttering about an early shift. The college kids, sensing a subtle shift in energy, threw some cash on the table and left, laughter fading into the desert night. Chuck lingered a moment, muttering about hitting the road, before finally trudging out. He stepped in, tall, lean, shoulders broad beneath a dark bomber jacket. Tribal pendants caught the dim light as he moved, carrying a subtle magnetic rhythm. A walk that stirred some primal recognition she couldn't place. His hair was tousled, eyes unnervingly bright. He didn't shuffle in like a tired traveler. He commanded this space. The diner grew quieter, the remaining patrons stiffening at the subtle shift. He slid into the booth near the window, did not look at the menu, did not greet anyone, just waited. Leela approached with her pad. "What'll it be?" "Meat. Raw," he said smoothly. Her pulse flickered. She blinked, forcing composure. "We don't serve that." He tilted his head slightly, pendant swinging. "Shame. Nothing's as alive as flesh before flame burns the life out of it." The remaining patrons were uneasy. Millie gone, Chuck uneasy, the college kids long gone. Yet she stayed. Her instinct told her to leave, but she didn't. "You're different," she said finally, testing him. "Most people don't talk like that." She felt a spike of thrill. He leaned forward, gaze fixed, pendants catching the light. "Most people aren't worth talking to, but you?" His eyes lingered, intense. "You have curiosity. That's dangerous." She felt a spike of thrill. "Dangerous? How?" "You're smiling through it. That's worse." "It means part of you wants it," he said lightly, amused. She laughed softly, brushing her hair behind her ear. "I'm just trying to understand you. You seem out of place. Strange." "Am I?" His fingers tapped in a slow, deliberate rhythm. "Or is everyone else shallow? The herd. You saw them leave. Emotional cowards. But you stayed." Chapter 2. The night between. The diner hummed with the faint noise of a few lingering patrons. A couple sipping late-night coffee. Chuck hunched over the counter, nursing his last pancakes. The presence gave Leela a subtle shield, a buffer between her and the stranger. "I guess I'm observant," she said, careful, playful. "I like to understand things. People." situations. He leaned back, eyes flickering with that subtle, beyond human intensity, just for a heartbeat. His gaze seemed to sweep past her, through her, yet tethered her to the moment. Perhaps, or perhaps you're seeing threads most people miss, threads others wouldn't dare follow. Crossed her arm subtly, testing. Threads? Dangerous threads? Dangerous. And lightning. Sometimes both, he murmured. His presence pressed into her, magnetic and unsettling. Yet she didn't back away. She had the comfort of the remaining patrons. A small laugh escaped her, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. Ordinary? I'd say this place is full of stories. Every person has one, sometimes more than one. Even you, I'm guessing. His smirk was slow, deliberate. Stories. Most are bound by habit, by fear. You notice the difference, don't you? The herd thins, emotional cowards chasing comfort. You stayed. Why is that? She smirked, teasing lightly. Maybe I like seeing what others don't. Or maybe some of us just have to work the night shift. He inclined his head, amused, letting a faint shimmer in his eyes tease her perception. Perhaps, or perhaps, some of us are drawn to what cannot be tamed. The few remaining patrons eventually trickled out, one by one, leaving the diner increasingly silent. Leela now felt the full weight of him, magnetic and menacing, pressing in. She leaned forward, carefully teasing. And you feel it, don't you? Tell me, what do you feel? His gaze deepened, that subtle, beyond human shimmer brushing her awareness. I feel potential, dangerous potential, rare and intoxicating. She blinked, a small smile tugging at her lips. Potential? You mean some people are special and the rest are not? He let the words hang, eyes narrowing just slightly. Not special. Most are bound by fear, by habit. They cling to comfort, small pleasures, pathetic addictions. The herd. Easy to read, easier to ignore. But some, the rare ones, they stir the currents. They shape the world without ever knowing it. They draw me in, compel me, and I can do nothing but follow their trace. You linger on the edge of that current, testing, questioning, daring. That is why you remain here, and why you matter in ways most will never understand. She shook her head slightly, trying to mask her fascination. I think everyone counts, even if they don't realize it. You don't get to decide who matters. His eyes darkened, shimmering faintly, voice deliberate and cutting. Ripples? Quiet spaces? You cling to shadows as if they hold weight, yet the world does not bend for them. The invisible dies unremarked. Most vanish because they are weak, afraid, and fear leaves no trace. Only the bold, the rare, the relentless leave anything at all. Everything else is forgotten. Her pulse quickened, a thrill tangled with the apprehension. She leaned back slightly, eyes narrowing, but a sly smile tugged at her lips. Maybe not everyone leaves a mark, not everyone sparks change, but even the ones who vanish, who hide, they exist. Their choices, even small, ripple in ways you might never notice. Maybe they don't shape the world in grand strokes, but they matter in the quiet, in the spaces between the chaos you chase. He tilted his head, eyes gleaming with subtle challenge, voice dropping, razor sharp. Do they? The world bends only for those who move it. All else fades. Shadows are forgotten. You speak with hope, yet the truth is harsher. Tell me, if everyone counts, why does the world still falter? Why do only a few leave marks worth noticing? She felt the weight of his words, realizing just how differently they saw the world, and how dangerously compelling he was. The diner was quieter now, its heartbeat slowed. Only the hum of lights and the occasional clink of cutlery reminded Leela she was still at work. Across from her, the man in the bomber jacket sat steady, his gaze fixed like gravity itself. She was about to ask his name when she was about to ask his name when the bell above the door shrieked open. A man stumbled in, boots heavy, shirt half untucked, whiskey radiating off him. He dragged himself toward the counter, eyes blurry, mouth already curling into trouble. "Evening, sweetheart," he slurred at Leela, leaning on the counter with clumsy bravado. His eyes ran her over. "You look better than pie." Leela stiffened, smoothing her apron with controlled professionalism. "What'll it be?" she asked evenly, tone brisk but not unkind. "Pies, coffee, and maybe," his grin widened, "a little of your company." Before she could answer, a shadow settled into the seat beside him. "And how about mine? I'm told I'm decent company when I try." The drunk blinked, then laughed, clapping the counter. "Ha! You? What makes you better company than her, stranger?" "Nothing at all. That's why I'm here, to sit beside brilliance, not outshine it." Leela felt her cheeks warm as the patron chuckled. "Now that's a line. You been practicing, stranger?" "Every night, though never on anyone worth saying it to." Leela rolled her eyes, though her lips curved. The patron laughed again, nudging his shoulder. "Guess I don't stand a chance then." "Not unless you've got better pie, and I doubt it." "Tell me something, friend. We're having a spirited little debate before you arrived. Maybe you can settle it." The patron squinted, intrigued. "Debate? About what?" The man gestured casually toward Leela. "She insists everyone matters, equal weight, even the ones no one sees. I say, the world doesn't work that way. Some shine, some fade, most are just background. What do you think?" Leela shot him a look, half annoyed, half thrilled at his audacity. The patron rubbed his chin clumsily, as if considering a great riddle. "Huh. Well, I don't know about all that fancy talk, but I do know this. Some folks, you remember 'em. Some, you don't. Bartender, singer on the jukebox, girl who smiled at me once 10 years ago. I remember those. But the rest? Faces blur. Guess that means he's got a point, sweetheart." He gestured toward the man with a drunken grin. Leila said, "So you're saying most people are forgettable?" The patron replied, "Aren't they? Don't mean they're worthless. Just not everyone sticks. Not everyone matters the same." The man who smiled slowly, like a predator pleased with the hunt. He said, "Well said. See, even a stranger knows the truth of it." Leila's eyes narrowed. Leila said, "Convenient that he just happens to take your side." The patron chuckled, raising his glass. Patron said, "Hey, don't look at me like that. I'm just saying what I've seen." "He's got teeth in his words, but he ain't wrong." The man who gaze lingered on her, voice dripping lower. "And the more you fight it, Leela, the more you prove me right." She straightened, refusing to let his words swallow her voice steady, almost daring him. Leela said, "Or maybe the more I fight, the more I prove you wrong. People don't get ignored because they're meaningless. They get ignored because others are too blind, too self-absorbed to see them. But they still matter. An ocean isn't made by a single wave. It's made of droplets. Every one of them counts. Dismiss them, and eventually the tide swallows you whole." The patron gave a soft whistle, his drunk haze clearing just enough to catch the weight of her words. The patron said, "Well, damn. Sounds like she's got a point, stranger." And laughed. He said, romantic, naive. His eyes glinted, almost amused. He leaned forward. "A pretty picture. But let me ask you, if every droplet mattered equally, why does no one remember the rain, only the flood? Why do we name the hurricane, but never the endless drops that built it? Because power isn't in the many. Power isn't in the many, Leela. It's in the few that move the rest." His voice got quieter, colder, sharpened by attention. "Beautiful image, comforting, easy to sell at wakes and weddings, but it's wrong about the thing it tries to explain." He leaned in, and the air tightened around his words. "People aren't identical droplets you can sum to make a sea. They're systems, habits nested inside habits, networks that reinforce them. Most of them aren't even counted because they never choose to be counted. They're locked into patterns, routine, fear, dopamine loops. They replicate a life, not live it. He tapped the table once slow. An ocean only looks continuous from a distance. Up close you see currents, eddies, dead water. Storms are born when the conditions allow them, not from polite, evenly distributed droplets. The world doesn't even remember droplets because droplets don't break the pattern. It remembers the breakers, the ones who refuse the program, the ones who disrupt the equilibrium. Those are the points that shift things. The rest? They're noise, useful sometimes, invisible mostly. He let that sit, then asked, quiet and precise like a blade, "Tell me, Leela, do you really think that the world is kind enough to treat the timid and the brave the same? Or is your ocean just a story people tell so they can go on doing nothing and flocking together like sheep?" She steadied her voice, unwilling to let his words break her. "Maybe most don't shift the world the way you define it, but you're blind if you think they don't matter. Even the smallest life, it ripples. People need someone who remembers them, listens to them, sees them. Not everyone wants to break patterns. Some just want to feel better about their lives, and that matters to them, to the people who love them." His gaze didn't soften. "Matter or self-soothe? Are you talking about true weight or the placebo they sell themselves before dying the same as yesterday?" His voice sharpened. "The brave and the timid do not walk the same road. One bleeds a trail others follow. The other clings to a borrowed comfort. That's not equality. That's hierarchy, hidden under lullabies." Before she could answer, the patron, who'd been listening quietly, leaned in with surprising clarity. "Maybe you're both right," he said. "People like me, I ain't changing the world. Hell, I can't even change my shift schedule. But when I sit here, talk to her," he nodded at Leela, "I feel human again. Doesn't matter if it's an illusion or placebo. For me, it's oxygen. I go back out there and keep grinding. Not noise, not a wave that shapes history, but not nothing either." Leela gave him a small, grateful smile, then turned back to the... "You see hierarchy, I see connection. Maybe the world remembers breakers, but the quiet ones? They hold the breakers up. Without them, there is no stage for storms." She steadied her voice. "Maybe most don't shift the world the way you define it, but you're blind if you think they don't matter. Even the smallest life, it ripples. People need someone who remembers them, listens to them, sees them. Not everyone wants to break patterns. Some just want to feel better about their lives, and that matters to them, to the people who love them." His gaze didn't soften. "Matter or self-soothe? Are you talking about true weight or the placebo they sell themselves before dying the same as yesterday?" His lips curved, not quite a smile, more a baring of teeth now, a little bit more aggression. "Connection, hmm? Tell me then. When the tide rises, does the ocean remember the droplet, or does it swallow it whole? Without care, without name. You build your comfort on sentiment. I deal in truth. Storms don't ask permission of raindrops." The words cut. Leela felt them lodge deep, but she steadied, refusing to flinch. "And yet without them, you'd have no storm. You talk about hierarchy, but you stand on their shoulders, whether you admit it or not." The patron chuckled dryly, shaking his head. "Guess I'll take being a raindrop. Beats being nothing at all." For a moment, silence. The diner seemed suspended in that charged stillness, three worlds colliding across a greasy table under buzzing lights. And in that silence, his eyes found hers again, gleaming with that strange beyond human glimmer. Chapter 4. The neon sign outside buzzed faintly, a restless heartbeat in the silence that followed their argument. "You keep twisting it," Leela said, leaning forward on the counter, her voice slow but fierce. "It's not about who matters. Everyone matters." His mouth curved, not quite a smile, not quite a sneer. "No, everyone exists, but only some matter. That's the truth you don't want to swallow." Her eyes narrowed. "So? You're the judge? You get to decide? He raised his eyebrows, shifted his head, and looked at the clock. 11:56. Not decide, just recognize. The world sorts itself out whether you like it or not. Some people shine brighter, the rest fade. That's arrogance talking, she shot back, though her tone trembled on the edge of curiosity. Tell me what makes you shine so damn bright. Finally, he leaned across the counter close enough that she felt the heat of him. Voice dropped to a husky whisper that curled around her like smoke, almost engulfing her. You really want to know? His eyes locked on hers, unblinking, predatory, yet tinged with a wicked playfulness. I could show you. Gotta warn you, though, the truth shines bright. He looked up at the moonlight streaming through the diner's windows, voice dropping to a murmur, sometimes too bright. A nervous laugh escaped her, unsteady but real. What are you, some kind of magician? His lips brushed the rim of his glass as he murmured, magicians create illusions. There are illusions, yes, yet there is real magic. This world, it operates in real magic. It's just something beyond what the regulars are used to. Hence why I say chosen ones. The words slid over her skin, dangerous and intoxicating. She swallowed, pulse skipping. She replied, then show me. If you're so sure you matter more than the rest of us, prove it. His gaze flicked again toward the clock. 11:58 now. The second-hand sweep seemed to thunder in the small diner. He straightened, his tone suddenly clipped, commanding, come with me, to the door. But let me tell you, once I step outside, you're gonna have to lock it. Why, she said. You'll just have to wait and see. Something primal in his voice made her obey, even as every rational bone in her body screamed to stop. She followed him to the door, heart racing, her hand hovering on the lock. He paused at the threshold, one last glance at her with the same teasing, dangerous spark. He said, watch closely, Leela. Tonight you'll learn what it means to matter. And with that, he stepped into the silver light of the rising moon. Leela's hand lingered on the lock, fingers trembling, heart hammering. Outside, the full moon spilled silver across the empty street, painting everything in stark, unforgiving light. He stepped into it. At first, she smirked, certain this was just theatrics, a final tease of the night. But the air around him thickened, charged, almost electric. A subtle shift first, a flash in his eyes, unnatural, luminous. Then, the elongation of canines, a sharper jawline, his hands flexing into claws, muscles coiled and uncoiled with liquid precision. Movement fluid, predatory, impossible. Leela's smirk faltered. Her pulse quickened as the sound of tearing fabric and snapping sinew echoed faintly, grotesquely intimate. Dark fur sprouted across taut muscles, flowing like ink in water, alive, shifting, consuming the human beneath. The diner windows rattled violently as he slammed against them, each impact reverberating through the metal and glass. She pressed herself to the counter, nails digging into the wood, breath caught in her throat. Every instinct screamed at her, flee, hide, scream, yet she could not tear her eyes away. He crouched low outside, figure massive now, impossibly swift, all sinew and fur and snarling intent. His eyes, glowing under the moonlight, locked on hers for a brief, impossible moment. Intelligence and recognition burning behind the primal, inhuman mask. Then he threw his head back and let out a howl, deep, raw, and blood-curdling. A sound that shook the air itself, rattled the windows, and sent a shiver racing down her spine. It was neither human nor animal, but something older, wilder, terrifying in its purity. He vanished into the night, shadows swallowing him whole. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the faint echoes of the last howl fading into the distance. Leela sank to the floor behind the counter, trembling, mind reeling. She didn't know what she had just witnessed, only that nothing would ever feel the same again. Outside, the night waited, vast and unknowable, as if holding its breath for what would come next.